Sunnyside, a farming life sim that gives us cozy players a unique Japanese countryside experience like no other game. And yet it has received plenty of mixed reactions. But why is that? Today, I will share with you why Sunnyside is so special to me and which of the gameplay aspects could either make or break the gameplay for you guys. Many thanks to Merge Games for gifting me an early access copy. Sunnyside offers a refreshing blend of a traditional, cozy countryside life mixed with city entertainment and elements of modern technology. For example, it lets us experience a slice of city life, use mobile phones for communication, operate drones, and interact with vending machines, water hoses, and wind and water turbines for generating energy. It prioritizes our cozy experience by adding a dedicated cozy mode and day-length sliders, letting us fully customize our difficulty according to our comfort levels. Sunnyside also emphasizes inclusivity, cultural representation, and socializing mechanics with 25 dateable characters, all presented in a modern fantasy anime style influenced by the Persona JRPGs. Sunnyside has plenty of options, sliders, and color wheels to fully customize our characters, giving us freedom for self-expression. There are so many hairstyles, clothing items, and accessories that I actually found it quite hard to make up my mind. I enjoyed how the body sliders had a very neutral flavor and didn't label our character's identity. I only wish the range was wider because the models are very slim by default, but I do understand that it would be harder to implement from a technical standpoint. The models themselves are charming and have a distinct and recognizable style. The only gripe I have is that clothing and hair sometimes clip into the body, and the way body parts bend can look slightly unnatural depending on different poses and animations. What I loved is the gender expression spectrum that covers every range from hyper-feminine to hyper-masculine and anything in between, like non-binary or just slightly feminine or slightly masculine. There are, unfortunately, some restrictions in the romance department, but I will get to that later on. We have moved from the city to the Japanese countryside with no experience and a big empty farm plot with lots of potential. The usual farm life starter pack. We discover that people are gradually moving away to chase big opportunities in the city, leaving their homes in the countryside behind. But here we are, embracing our cozy farming lifestyle. The dialogue felt original and refreshing. It kept me entertained during the prologue and tutorial moments where I would usually actually switch my brain off because I have seen this kind of dialogue before. But Sunnyside had a very charming way to bring the characters alive, and I can tell it was important to the devs to make interactions feel real and give them believable and relatable backstories. The game explores complicated themes like family trauma, failed relationships, and guilt, which I do find highly interesting. However, please definitely proceed with caution because I think you need to be in the correct headspace for such serious topics. There are 27 characters to meet and 25 of them are romanceable. While that sounds like an amazing range, please know that each character has gender preferences on the spectrum that determine the speed at which you gain affection points with them. And it can also lock you out of dating a character entirely. While this definitely adds a touch of realism to the world, it is sadly also way more restrictive. But we can invite characters for hangouts or dates using the texting function on our phones, which I really enjoyed. Though the timing of the messages was sometimes really funny, because Gabe would stand right across from me and would still text me if I'm up for lunch. But I do get it, Gabe. As an introvert myself, sometimes it is just easier to text than talk face to face. Gameplay-wise, Sunnyside offers a nice mix of activities, not only farming and decorating, but also ranching, crafting, fishing, cooking, and combat. The farming is very detailed, with a vast variety of different seeds and crops that each have different growth seasons and patterns. There are so many of them that it can be hard to keep track of them all. but the Plant Daddy companion app on our phone definitely helps with that. Game progression in this game is actually very slow. Artisan crafting can be fun to get into if you enjoy the complexity of it, but it can also feel a bit too tedious and grindy for some players. You could definitely describe it as a slow burn experience that can definitely be relaxing for some players, but maybe for others it is more of a hassle. I think ultimately it is for us to decide which one it'll be. To me, Sunnyside's world does feel like a quite accurate depiction of what life in a Japanese rural area could be like. It feels like we've been welcomed into a very closed-off but friendly community, and there are usually not many people around that you'd run into on such vast farmlands. I personally found the Japanese vibes very on point in terms of architecture and style, but it was actually way more than that. It was every little detail, from the way the pavement looks, to small stone lanterns and way signs, vending machines, and green tea bottles with recognizable labels on the table. It was really the attention to the small details that made it so atmospheric for me. In terms of performance, it definitely felt choppy at times, even on medium to low settings. There are occasional small bugs even after 3 update patches, but I haven't encountered any game-breaking bugs so far, which is very good. The game is definitely playable if you are itching to get your hands on it, but do expect some hiccups along the way. I actually have played Sunnyside in the early alpha 2 years ago, and I have to say, they did get a lot of work done. The devs have clearly put a lot of love into sculpting the world and its characters. The mechanics are very in-depth and require a lot of steps or time to build up our farm, which can be a hit or miss for players. Sunnyside is a rough gem with plenty of potential, and it is up to us players whether we can approach this title with an open mind or if its flaws will detract you from the immersion. I would say it is worth a shot if you are intrigued by the idea of playing in a fictional, rural Japan, because in my opinion, that is clearly the game's strongest point. If you value smooth and satisfying live sim gameplay, I would say maybe do hold off a bit more, at least until the game is more balanced out in terms of performance and mechanical gameplay progression. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface, but please let me know if my review helped you in any way or if there is anything else you'd like to see about Sunnyside in the future. But that's everything from me. Have a lovely day, my friends, and see you in the next video.